Strata, in a nutshell, in my opinion, sometimes comes with a little bit of a bad rap, and it doesn't need to be. So strata is actually there to create simplicity for where you live. So essentially strata is like a business. You own your property. So depending on which property you are looking at when you are buying, established or off the plan, you own that property. For everything outside, whether it's common hallways, lifts, lobbies, gardens, gyms, pools, what you would normally take on when you're a green title owner, meaning you own your whole parcel of land, that then becomes the responsibility of the strata. So simplistically, if you want to shut your front door and go away, everything else in your building is taken care of. So bear in mind that a strata manager is in place to protect your rights as an owner. So a lot of the time when people are buying off the plan, in my opinion, it's the best time to buy strata because you are at the forefront of what the bylaws are, who are the other residents in the building, getting to know that whole sense of community, rather than buying something that's 10, 15 years old and you've lost touch with that initial concept of how that strata was set up. So a lot of the things to look at as a buyer coming into strata, depending on whether, say for example, I'm an investor or I'm an owner-occupier, I'm going to look for different things in those strata bylaws. For example, if I'm an investor, I want to know how can I grow that asset? Can I open up the pool as to who can invest and lease out that property? Am I restricted to long-term leases, or can I look at Airbnb? On the flip side, if I'm an owner-occupier, I don't want Airbnb in my building. I want to know that majority of the residents are there living in the building and are going to be my neighbours that I will see from day one right the way through to 10 years time. So that's where myself and the sales executives here at Jones Realty and Projects can sit down and help you dissect what are in those bylaws and how they are going to make or break your next purchase. Perfect. Look, so there are some key things to look at in your strata bylaws. Essentially, the strata bylaws are there as a bit of a rule book as to what you can do as an owner and what you can do whether you're coming in to lease the property. So again, they are there as a protection mechanism to make sure that if something's not exactly going according to plan, you've got a voice that you can go to that will address those matters on your behalf. One of the biggest things, and I'll be 100% honest, that people want to know in the bylaws is, can my fur baby come along to the apartment? 10 to 15 years ago, pets within strata complexes were almost a bit of a no-no. I can safely say this because we sell majority of off-the-plan properties that are available to sell in WA, and we have not come across one strata bylaw in the last 5 years of properties that we're selling that doesn't allow fur babies. So again, strata bylaws also change with the times as well. We've seen the introduction of short stay, which is Airbnb, obviously animals, there's things to do with disabilities and being able to actually live freely within an apartment depending on what stage of life you're at. So again, we will find that the bylaws that are in place today will be different in 2, 3, 5 years time. So it's really important to stay up to speed with what's relevant and how those bylaws will affect how you live in that development. So your strata fees are essentially paying things that you're already paying in your current home. Building insurance, you might be having your landscaping done, whether you're getting any maintenance done around the home, it could be pool cleaning, you name it. All of those costs are now what form part of your strata fees. They also include things like your building insurance, fire safety, fees that go towards your strata manager, and the purpose of them is so that you pay a quarterly fee every single 3 months, which goes towards the running and the operations of the building in which you live. You'll also hear something that's called a reserve fund or a sinking fund. That there is an accumulation of funds that build up over a period of time so that if there are any big ticket items that need to be addressed, whether that's painting, resurfacing, whatever that may be, it comes out of that pool of funds that you've already contributed towards rather than your back pocket. So a common question I'm asked regularly is why are the strata fees so low to begin with, and then year 2 and 3 they jump up. So there's a big perception that people feel like they're being duped by coming in at low strata fees and then finding out that they're only going to increase and they can no longer service it. So the truth behind that is for the first 12 months, quite a lot of your larger plant and equipment, lift shafts, bigger mechanics are actually covered on a service agreement, meaning that those elements are under warranty. So that cost that's associated to the ongoing running of those items isn't actually showing as a dollar figure in year 1. So it's important when you're talking to your sales agent to ask what the proposed budget for years 2 and 3 look like, which developers will have, and you'll be able to see that there is an increase. So from a developer's perspective, they're not hiding anything from you. It's just simply that some of those costs don't actually kick in until year 2 and 3, and that is why you will always find that there will be a jump from year 1 to year 2 and 3. So when you buy into Strata, you'll hear of something called the Council of Owners. So you have the Strata manager and you also have the Council of Owners. The Council of Owners are almost a voice for the people, which you can actually nominate to be a part of, or you can sit back and just come along to your AGMs. So an AGM is an annual general meeting. That's where the Strata manager will send out an agenda, cover all the bits and pieces that the Council of Owners have collected on behalf of the people to come back and discuss. You will then use your unit entitlement, which will form part of your sales contract, which is a number that makes up an accumulation of a larger aggregate, and that goes towards your yes or no vote, essentially. The Strata manager will collate all of that information and send it back through to each of the residents. And the Council of Owners is anywhere between 3 to 7 people. You will also have a treasurer, a president, and your COO, which is basically the chair, and then you'll have others that make up the Council of Owners. And essentially they will be there for you to be able to voice any concerns, any initiatives, if you think, look, we could possibly do this a bit better, or even just fun things like bringing in other equipment to the gym. Outside of that, you'll have what's called a EGM, which is an emergency general meeting. That there is if there's something that needs to be brought to a head quicker than when your AGM next falls, that can be addressed there and then at the time. Another important point to note, I think some people, there's a little bit of a misconception between I move into Strata, anything happens within my property and I call the Strata manager and I'm in the hands of someone else. It's important to remember that this is your home. So the same way as you would in a property that's sitting on a block of land, if your pipe bursts or if you have an issue with your dishwasher or an issue with your air conditioning, that's all still your responsibility. So anything that is within your property paint to paint, which essentially means from one wall to the next and from the roof to the ground, is your responsibility. Anything that falls outside of that, which could be a major water leak, it could be something to do with the overall mechanics of the building or structural, all of that is then covered by the Strata. So you'll find that when there is an issue within your property, you'll notify Strata in the first instance and they'll be able to determine and guide you as to whether this is an insurance issue to do with the Strata or whether this is just your individual responsibility. So regardless of what the issue is, you've got a point of contact to go to help guide you with every situation. If you're actually looking at buying a property off the plan and starting to tinker with the idea of Strata, no question is a stupid question. We here at Jones Realty and Projects specialise, live and breathe Strata. So we do what's called an apartment suitability consultation, which is basically coming in, having a coffee and diving into all the nooks and crannies of what is Strata and how that could work for you. On the flip side, we also go through everything to do with Strata bylaws. We go through pricing, we go through locations, we go through all the newest and greatest initiatives to do with Strata and some of the things that are no longer relevant that may actually be a current stumbling block for you, that in all sincerity are no longer on the table for you to even consider. consider. So from our perspective, it's super simple. You can jump onto the website. We've got all of our off-the-plan properties that we are selling across the board. Also completed properties for those that are looking to move into something move-in ready. We've got our media hub, which goes into a lot of different videos to do with what is Strata, and also educational pieces on investments. But the best thing to do is to come in and sit down, and we can go through everything with you on an individual basis.